Great decorating is all about the details, including a gorgeous textured set of coasters. How we love a coaster. Functional. And why not be beautiful? Quince has a gorgeous set of woven rattan coasters in 3 terrific colors with their own little holder that you're going to absolutely love. And if you haven't visited quince.com/DTT yet, get on over there. It's everyday elevated living without the markup. From crisp 100% linen bedding and soft organic cotton towels to airy curtains and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And the best part? Like Quince's clothing, their home goods are half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. Ever dreamed of being an author? Well, now is your chance. Hey everybody, it's Kelly Wilkness here with Anita Joyce, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today, we're talking about how to tell your home story. So go with me on this. Imagine that someone you don't know is left alone in your home. So forget the creep factor on that and just go with me. What impressions would they get? What would this person learn about you? In short, what story would your home tell them about you? This is an excellent thinking experiment, so try it out with you playing the role of the objective, inquisitive, unknown visitor. You could do that later, or you could hit pause and do it now, but definitely come back. You're going to want to hear everything we have to say in this episode because we're going to help you write and tell your home story today.
Well, I think what you're saying, too, is a great idea. And the best way to do it is to really go back out to the street and walk in from the street.
Yes. Really get into the role.
and maybe you can think of it as you're getting ready to sell your house because people are going to come in your house while you're not there. So that's not creepy, right? Those are just people looking to potentially buy your house. So think of it like that way when they're coming in your house. And I think it's very interesting. And this was a fun exercise for me. And I was kind of surprised. I came up with one word to describe my story that I will share at the end. And I was kind of thinking, okay, I did not expect that.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. Like writing a book, writing your home story takes thought, time, avoidance of distraction, and the all-important editing. And unlike a book, which is a written story, and so when it's done, it's done. With your home story, it can and should be evolving and changing, right? Just because you do too. And it's the story of you.
I think that's so true. And I wanted to give a few non-examples before we start because I don't want people to be going in the wrong direction before we even get going on our tips here. So the most literal translation might be that you have a baby room, where it has like your baby clothes and your first shoes. And then there's your junior high room full of your angst and your first retainer and maybe photos of that first boyfriend. I mean, this is not what we mean. We don't mean literally things from your entire life. It's not a literal thing. It's more like, what do you know about this person? Like you said, Kelly, from walking in. Or here's one more other example of what we're not saying. And that is, let's say you play guitar and you have a guitar. Okay, because you have this hobby of playing your guitar, you have to have wall art with guitars on it, or you have to hang a guitar on your wall. Now, the caveat with this is if your whole life is guitars, if your main focus in life is guitars, then yes, I think you need to have a guitar or guitar artwork in your house somewhere. But if it's just a hobby you have, no, you do not need to have some representation of every hobby in your house.
Yes, I like what you're saying because you're right. People might have taken it too literally. It's not a timeline or a time capsule, and it's not emphasizing every single hobby or pastime you might have. It's more of a vibe. It's this whole feel that represents you. So that might feel a little hard to put your finger on, but you're definitely going to know when you get it right, because it's going to feel really good to you.
I think about when you think about somebody that you care about, you don't remember necessarily what they did, what they said. What you remember is how you felt when you were around them.
Oh, that's so good, Anita. Absolutely. Yes.
So it's kind of the feeling or the vibe that you're getting from the house. That's kind of what we're talking about.
Yes, yes. Okay, and while we're in the don'ts, I guess before we get to the tips on how to, don't tell someone else's story. Even if you really like that story and you follow them religiously on Instagram or someplace else, and you just want that story, it's not your story. Don't tell somebody else's story. You can take pieces of that. You can get inspired, but you really, truly have to make it your own. And don't tell no story. That's a hotel room. Right? Don't make it so generic that there's just no personality, that no story is coming through. I mean, it's lovely to go in a hotel room, especially a luxe high-end hotel room, but even a luxe high-end hotel room lacks personality. It can't have a story because there's different people there all the time. So your home is not a hotel suite, and don't get stuck. Don't get stuck in junior high with your retainer and pictures of that boyfriend.
Well, speaking of a hotel, I remember in Paris, we stayed in the Hotel California. And I'm
hearing a song in my head.
I know. However, I don't think they understood what
That's
the song
hilarious,
meant.
Really.
But right. So I think that was lost in translation on the what the song was about, but it
was Don Henley behind the desk.
No, but the reason I bring it up is because it was known for having lots of original artwork in it. So it was basically an art gallery, which kind of goes against what you're saying. But it was an unusual situation. This is not typical, but the artwork in the hotel was beautiful.
Well, just an aside and totally not on topic. I did stay in what is supposed to be the hotel where Hotel California was actually written.
And what story did it tell?
Oh, I had so many margaritas, I don't really remember the story, but let me tell you, the vibe was really good.
The vibe was, you're not going to remember anything that happens here. Okay,
yeah,
you don't know if you had a good time or not.
You can check out, but you can never leave, or you can't get rid of your hangover. But anyway, that's a whole nother story from a different time. Go on with our tips on how to tell your home story.
Okay. So my first tip is to replace that mass-produced art with unique artwork. Mm-hmm. If everything you got is from like Marshalls, Home Goods, Target, or even just some big box store online, then you're going to have a very generic artwork that everyone else has, that every hotel has, as you said, Kelly. So I think very specific. I think you should move away from that and go with some artwork that really speaks to you. There's so much beautiful artwork out there. You can look for vintage and antique at an antique mall or a resale shop. You can check Etsy, has some amazing artwork, and small boutiques maybe in your town. For an example, we have a topographical map of the mountains in Black Mountain, North Carolina, which is where we have our vacation rental home. And it's so fun. We have that on the wall there, and it's fun where you can kind of see which mountain you're on and the mountain ranges near you. So that's kind of a very fun piece of artwork, very specific and meaningful for us. And then the other thing I've done is gone with a lot of old portraits in our house. I love old oil paintings and just other types of artwork, but I'm especially drawn to portraits.
Great tip. And I refer to that type of art that you mentioned as anonymous decor or anonymous art. So you want to banish the anonymous decor or art. My tips are a little bit looser, maybe. I think Anita's tips might be very specific to items. So I think you're going to get a really good smattering of both tips. And so you can really put this together, this story together very easily. My first tip is to start with an outline. So don't feel like you have to know everything. I mean, think about when someone's writing a book. Some authors don't even know what the end's going to be, right? And you don't really know what the end is going to be of your story, right? You're writing it every day. So sort of start with an outline. Don't feel overwhelmed that you have to get all the details right away. You can fill in the details and those elements that really add the personality as you go along. Give yourself a general outline of how you want the whole vibe, the whole feel to be. And you could do this room by room, or I would suggest initially you sort of do it overall. What do you want the whole home to feel? How do you want it to reflect you, right? And use your personal story, right, as the starting place. That is going to be the framework of your outline. But, definitely avoiding having the historical time capsule feel that Anita mentioned in the beginning, right? And then you're going to layer in, right? Because every day you're creating new life experience and new memories. And there might be some very important days like the day you get married, or if you have a child, or if you have a grandchild, or something new happens, you get a pet or something like that. These are monumental days and will add a lot more to your story, but you want to add that all in. And you want to take into account the personality of the house that you're in. So I think the exterior, the architecture, and even the geographical location of the house are all aspects of the home story that you have to take into consideration.
Well, I think that's true. Although, what about if you were in a house that you feel like maybe was mass produced in the 80s or 90s, and maybe you don't like that? It's kind of hard to go with that if that's not really your story. So I'm not really sure. I don't know. How do you deal with, what do you suggest people do with that?
So if you're in a builder grade or you're in a spec house and it's not an architectural wonder, that's okay. So then it just becomes a small part. You don't have to emphasize that in the story. But if your home has a certain look to it, like if it's a craftsman style, or it's a Georgian colonial, or if it's in a historic neighborhood, or it's got something else, or it's a mid-century modern, if it's got something that has personality, then you want to add that in and sort of lean into that a little bit in your story of the home story. That's what I believe. I always feel like you should take into consideration the architecture and the location. If your house is landlocked, really don't decorate coast, that sort of thing. So I want you to take all of that into consideration.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and I suppose, although I wouldn't call it part of the story, my approach would be not so much to go that direction, but to not fight it. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to try to pretend it's something that it's not. So, yes, if it's a 90s house in Ohio, pretending it's a Tuscan villa probably isn't going to work for you.
The story's not going to feel right.
Right. So I think that's a good point. So another thing, as far as the decor specifics, what if you have, again, the mass-produced pillows and just solids? I see that a lot where it's just solid pillows, which is fine. But, is that your personality? Does that tell your story? I mean, think about that. Again, you might want to go to some of these boutiques, Etsy shops, some places where there's more one-of-a-kind pillows, so that it is more specific to your taste. And then you can mix in some solids and some prints. But think about that. Is your look really representing your personality? Are those pillows, do they speak to you? I wouldn't just buy them because, I have a blue sofa, so I need a blue pillow. I mean, there's so many different fabric choices to choose from. Spend a little time finding exactly what's right for you. I couldn't find exactly what I wanted in a lot of places, so I went to Etsy and had some pillow covers custom made. So I think that is an option. And because of Etsy, it's much more affordable than it used to be. And they're very nice with zipper enclosures. So, yeah, there's a lot of options now.
Oh yeah, don't stick with the pillows that came with the sofa or came with the chair. Break it up. There are so many ways to add a lot of personality, and not someone else's, your own personality and your own family members or whoever is living there with you, personality to the house. I have a Instagram friend who I met many years ago through Instagram, and then she started doing dog portraits. So I have had Jules do dog portraits, and I have to get her to do a portrait of Eve. She took a little break during COVID, and I got to get back in there with her because I have Emmett and Edith, and I have to have Eve, and we have them hanging on the wall. They're not gigantic. They're 8x10s, but she does such a beautiful job. I think I might have used her as a crush many years ago when we first started getting those. And that is just so special. And we have it in the little downstairs office. And every day when I walk in there, I see them. So it's not some dog that I picked up at TJ Maxx on clearance, right?
And they're not playing poker either, right?
And they're not on velvet, and they're not playing poker. Absolutely. She does such a beautiful job, and it was not very expensive for an original piece of art of our family members. So it's such a great way to add some personality. Obviously, pictures of your family, portraits, pieces of art that your kids or your grandkids may have created. You don't have to frame every single one. You don't even have to keep every single one. Pick out a couple of the best ones and maybe pop one or two in a frame. That's really going to add some personality. Add some things that you've collected along the way. I was with a client yesterday, and she has this gigantic shell collection, and it's so important to her because she remembers almost every beach that she was on where she picked up this shell, and she's been doing it her whole life long. And she was asking me a way to display it better, because she had little bits of them in little bowls around the house and whatnot. So it's a very large shell collection, and we're trying to figure out a way to bring it all together and have it have a lot of impact. But it was just really lovely to talk with her about it, because she'd pick one up and she could tell me where she got it from.
That's a wonderful way to tell your story.
Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. I can't stop using dupe.com. This is an amazing website, service, best friend. I absolutely love it. So you find something that you really want, and it's too expensive. It's a budget buster. Then you use dupe.com, and you can find almost the exact thing or very similar products for much less. So I was crushing on this incredibly gorgeous coffee table. I had it in my mind. I had it in my Pinterest boards. I had it everywhere, but I just didn't have it in my house because it was too expensive. When I learned about dupe.com, that was the first product that I tested. And boy, did I find some amazing dupes. And I purchased one. So the original was almost $3,000. And dupe showed me many choices, all the way down to under $200. Now, you may think something this extraordinary is hard to use, but it's so easy. Just type dupe.com/ before any product URL in your browser, and boom, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account required, no sign up required. It's completely free. That's completely free free to use. Stop wasting your money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today.
How about that decor you bought just because it was on trend?
Yeah.
And they had it at Target 2 years ago, and now you look at it and say, why did I buy this cow?
Yes.
From my farmhouse phase, and it doesn't really go with my house. So, that's really something to think about. And again, there's so many places you can go to get decor that is not mass produced. And I'm not saying don't shop at Target or Home Goods or any of those places. I think there's a place for those things, but you don't want your whole house full of those things. You want some unique pieces, something to draw your eye, and something that makes you smile when you see it. So think about antiques. Think about old things. Think about, we like using old books, and I love like an old silver champagne bucket to put flowers in. There's so many great things you can buy, and not just vintage and antique, but just unique pieces. Maybe go to an art gallery and find some really beautiful piece that speaks to you.
Yeah, and this really touches on what I mentioned a little bit ago about taking your time. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to add in all your personality and tell your home story in a day, or a weekend, or a week. It's going to take some time. And you may collect it over the years. Even if you move to a new house, you're going to add another layer because now you're in a new place, but you have a nice foundation of things. So, and if you're just starting out, then you can start with the outline, and the outline can include, pieces from IKEA and pieces from Target, but it's when you're adding in the details and you're layering in the personality, that's when the story starts to come alive. And so don't be afraid to add in pieces that everything doesn't have to scream, this is so important to me because, I got this at my graduation, what have you. Each piece should say a little something, but there are going to be pieces that are just the backdrop, right? So kind of the bones, the foundation, the outline. Anita's giving you such great ideas about places where you can go to get this really unique things that speak to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that is from your past. It can be something that you fall in love with, but it's not something that everybody else has. It's not something you can easily go out and get. So if you walk down the street, you can also see the same thing in your neighbor's house. That's not going to bring your story alive.
Right. And speaking of your past, we're not saying you have to include everything from your past, but if it's something important or special to you, then I think it's important to include that. And of course, we know so many people that inherited things that they just don't like. And those things, let them go. Set them free. Someone else will love them probably in their home. But if it doesn't work for you, don't keep it. But there's probably some special heirloom pieces that you can keep that are meaningful to you. For example, I have my grandmother's mixing bowl. And actually what happened was the bowl came with a big block of cheese in it and was during the Depression when they were giving cheese to people. And so it came with this massive, 10-pound block of cheese in there. And that's what she told me. And then and then that was her mixing bowl. So it's so fun. I have that bowl, for example. And then I have a silhouette portrait of my in-laws from when they were very young.
Oh,
it's very charming. Another interesting one-of-a-kind item we have is that our aunt worked for Karastan for years. The rug manufacturer. And so they had a little mini Oriental rug the size of a placemat that was used as one of the sample displays in their office where people could order that rug. And so we inherited that, and it's just really unique and pretty, and I just enjoy having that. I have it on a tray, and it's fun to have that. So those sorts of things.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so fun to have these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you weren't lucky enough to inherit something from your family, go buy it and just throw it in.
Right, because if you love it, then it's from you, and then down the line, it's from your family. It's your block of cheese, and nobody's going to know that it was somebody else's block of cheese to start out with.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. And I definitely want to go back and emphasize that your story will change. It get more layered and more interesting and better as the years go on. So you don't want to just do it and forget it. You want to keep evolving, right? And taking things away that don't resonate with you anymore, and maybe adding in something new that really did catch your eye, or something that was from a monumental moment in your life, and add it in to your home, add it into your decor. And then when that anonymous person comes into your house, they will understand so much more about you when they're reading the story of your home. So, Anita, I am really on the edge of my seat to hear what this one word is. I mean, I don't think I can stand it anymore.
Well, I looked around my home and I was really thinking, I have to admit it. It says romantic.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's not something, I don't have a plaque that says I'm a romantic. I would never have that in my house because so it's not something like that, but it's the curve of the French chairs in my home. Yeah. It's the gold leaf on the antique Louis Philippe mirrors. Mm-hmm. It's the patina on the old French silverware that tells a story. And I love history. So yes, the house is full of antiques. And remember I mentioned that I love these old portraits? Well, I started connecting the dots and thinking about my favorite books. I'm always drawn to the biography section of any bookstore or library. And then I kind of connected it. No wonder I'm so fascinated by these old portraits, because I love biographies. I am much more interested in a biography of a person who lived rather than fiction. So I'm kind of putting it all together. I have to say that at one point I had to hide it. When I worked as an engineer in a paper mill, steel-toed shoes, hard hat, I don't know if you're kind of picturing it, safety glasses. And at that time, women weren't really taken very seriously unless they kind of discarded any kind of girly interest, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Right?
Feminine, right. So I never admitted that I had pretty things in my house. I would have never admitted to being a romantic. It was a secret that I kept safely locked in a closet. I'm really interested to hear what your home story is.
I didn't crystallize it in one word as you did, but I like that idea, and you've got me thinking about it. Talking a little bit more about how I developed the home story, I had an immediate connection with this house that I'm in. There was something about it when I first walked in, and a lot of people said to me, "Are you crazy? That place needs a lot of help. Like, what a project." But there was just something there. So I felt initially that this was a place that I wanted to be and kind of needed to be in. And I wanted to make this house our home because this particular house needed a lot of help and much more than a few coats of paint. I had this thing, and I actually made it sort of a hashtag for a little while, bringing back an American beauty. It was like, I felt like we came at a certain point in the history of this house where it could have gone really downhill, but we were able to bring it back, and we did so much ourselves. And watching the house come back to life, I feel like I have a lot of my heart and soul into this house, and my family too, even though they are not necessarily people to grab a paintbrush or a hammer and help out. They did have to live through a lot of it, so they have a lot of stake in this game too. And then, of course, the historic nature of the house. We want to respect the age and the era, and I've done that through the decor, but I didn't want to make it like a museum. This is not a museum. It's banish the doilies, banish the dark colors, all of that. And we really made the house our own, and a house that a family could live in and really enjoy. And because we are in California, and even though I can't believe we lived here as long as we have, it is an adopted state for us. So I wanted to sort of lean into the California nature of the house a little bit. So I have some things that are a nod to California, especially older California or older Pasadena, because that works with the house. And then most of all, just representing my family in the house, like I mentioned about the dog portraits and things like that. So that's how I authored, of course, with the input of my family members, how we've created the home story that we now live in. And I think it is very reflective of us. I know that mostly because when I walk in the door, I feel so comfortable here. And I think they all do too. My dogs sometimes feel too comfortable here, you know what I'm saying? But everybody is very comfortable here. And I feel that we have really respected the history of the house too, which makes me feel good.
Well, I think for sure when you have a house with historical significance like you do, it is important to bring that out and respect it and not try to cover up the fact that it is Victorian. Although I think you've done a beautiful job of melding the old with the new, and that you've gone with a lot of light and bright white in there, unlike the original Victorian style would have been. So you're much less cluttered, cleaner lines. So it's definitely a fresh version of an old, beautiful home.
Thank you, Anita. I appreciate that very much. So fun. This was a really fun episode to get ready for because it was reflective, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Kind of really fun to do.
Very, very different. And it really forced me to kind of sit down and think about what story am I telling? You know, what's my house saying about us? And so I think it's something to think about for sure. And it's something maybe that you can't just go do in 5 minutes after the episode, like our vignette episode. But I think it's something to think about and reflect on and keep that in the back of your mind. It's kind of like a business having a mission and vision statement. And I know a lot of families that have mission and vision statements. So I think the story that you want to tell, it's important to keep that in mind. And so that when as you move forward, you are going in a particular direction rather than kind of scattered in a lot of different ways.
I really like that. I think that is an excellent tip, and what a great tip to end this portion of the episode on, because you're absolutely right. If you keep that story, once you develop it, even if you're not 100% there in the house itself, but you develop it in your mind and you understand what that story is and what you want it to be, that will help you when you are purchasing items and making decisions about things, even decisions on renovations and things like that. If you keep that in mind, right, it will help you curate the universe and then help you edit and keep the story going, right, rather than sort of going off on a tangent. I like that a lot. Good point. We have something fun to talk about.
Well, I thought we should mention our consults.
Well, that's fun. Those are the best.
Well, they are so much fun, and it's amazing. I'm always kind of amazed at how many ideas we have at the end of 45 minutes.
We're just really good at this. Like, I think our superpower is just knowing, our collective superpower is just knowing how, like, what's wrong with that room or what can make it better.
Oh, yeah. And I was just thinking about some of the things that we cover. I mean, it really depends on what the client wants, but a lot of the things that we do cover are, or things that typically come up are what wall color paint we suggest, furniture for the room, how the furniture could be arranged better to take advantage of the room, the lamps, the rugs, what to keep, what might work better in another room, what's working for you, what's fighting for you in the room, what's fighting against you, I should say, in the room. Wouldn't you say that that's kind of typically what we cover?
Yeah. There's a lot of all what you mentioned. Yes. And I think the one that bubbles to the top the most for me is the furniture placement, not only because it comes up all the time, but because it's so easy and that you can literally hang up the phone and go give it a whirl and see how much better the room might function. Having another 2 sets of eyes on a room is really helpful. So we would love to have a consult with you, and it's super easy to sign up and do it. It's even easier than it used to be. Anita can explain to you even how much easier it has gotten.
Go to our website, decoratingtipsandtricks.com, and you should see the consult option at the top. It's one of the menu items, and it'll go through and explain how to sign up for a consult. And I actually have put some testimonials up there for you, and a before and after fun photo that a lovely client sent us. So.
Oh, yeah, that is a really good one. It's a great one. So, okay, we do have something else fun to talk about, but how about we do the DTT Defines right now?
Okay, so I thought we would define soffit. And it's not really something you see so much in newer homes, but that is the boxed area usually built above cabinets to fill the gap between the cabinets and the top of the ceiling. So when I lived in a house built in the 70s, there was a soffit above the cabinets, meaning that you couldn't put anything on top of the cabinets. Whereas now there's usually a gap. If you have a newer home, there's a gap when the cabinets are put on between the top of the cabinets and the ceiling. So that if that's the case, you do not have a soffit in your kitchen. Now, but just because there's a space there doesn't mean you should put something on there. Don't. But that is what a soffit is.
You mean you shouldn't put some dusty fake ivy up there?
I would suggest not.
Okay, I've always used the word soffit in that way, but also to describe something that sometimes appears to be like, why is that weird box thing coming down from the ceiling? And it might be encasing some ductwork. Would you also use it in that way?
Oh, yes. And that's when you run into trouble because you can have your house remodeled and say, hey, I want the soffit removed. And that's fine and dandy unless it's hiding ductwork or something like that that just can't be moved, which sometimes is the case.
Yes. Okay. So now here's the fun thing, the extra fun thing we want to talk to you about, how you can talk to us. Why don't you explain it, Anita?
Well, we have a new option for you to leave us a voicemail. So if you go to our website, decoratingtipsandtricks.com, then on the right side, there's a purple tab that says send us a voicemail. And there's a little microphone symbol on it. If you click on that, it is just super simple. There's a pop-up that says, hi, we'd love to hear from you. Click below to send us your voicemail. So then there's a button that, again, has the microphone logo, and it says start recording. So you tap it, and then you record. And then, like with leaving a voicemail on somebody's phone, it does give you an option to listen to your recording. You have an option to re-record, but if it sounds good to you, you just hit send, and that's it.
And whatever you send is going to sound good to us. We can't wait to hear your voice, and we would love for you to send us questions you'd like answered, or if you've got some great tips for us to share with the broader DTT audience, we would love to hear your tips. And we would then possibly use that recording on the show. So do know, if you leave a message there, we may use that message, your voice, on the show, because we're thinking if we get a variety of questions and or tips, we might put a whole episode together using those, and it could be super fun, and you'd hear each other, and then we'd answer the question or say, wow, what a great tip. And so we're thrilled to be able to offer that to you. So I hope you take advantage of it, because you listen to us a lot and we would like to listen to you.
Well, that's right. And remember, back in the beginning, we did have a lot of listener question episodes, and we had tips that people sent us that we shared during the podcast.
Yeah. So that would be fun to do it this way, in this new format where you can actually be, albeit recorded, but you can be part of the show too. So that would be, I think, a lot of fun for you guys, but it was super a lot of fun for us. So please take advantage of it, and we will be checking every day. So don't disappoint us. Start leaving us the voicemails. Anita left one so we could practice yesterday. So I got to hear her on there, and it sounded great. You sounded great, right, Anita.
Oh, thank you. Well, okay. What's your crush for today?
My crush is another book by one of my favorite authors. He's now has his trilogy. I talked about his other books before. It's Mark Hamer, Mark with a C. His most recent book is Spring Rain. So Spring Rain is a short little book. Each chapter goes back and forth between him as a little boy and then him as an adult. It is, I think, breathtaking. So I highly recommend it to everyone, and the link will be in the show notes.
My crush is a very practical item, which is not unusual for me. This one is a Video Pro C converter, and this converts DVDs to MP4 files. So I actually was cleaning things out. We got a new computer, and I was just kind of going through things. I thought, oh, here's a bunch of old home movies on DVD. And some of these are really old. So I have actually the videos from my grandmother from the 50s and 60s.
Oh.
They were originally on Super 8, right? And my dad converted them to VHS at some point, I guess during the 90s. Then I converted them to a DVD later in the 90s.
Oh my gosh.
And then, and some of them I converted to MP4 at the time while I had my friends converting equipment, but I missed some, and this one was missed. So I just bought this software. You pop the DVD in and basically just select the videos you want to convert, hit run, and voila, you have an MP4. And it was so easy to do. It was about $25 for a 1-year subscription. But, you know, if you have home movies, you probably can just do them, you know, in a couple days and you're done. But it was worth every penny, and I'm so happy to have all these home movies. And I have a bunch of the girls when we had the little camcorders, you know, the little, they were the smaller ones, but still, now those are MP4, so I don't have to worry about losing that.
Just in case somebody might not know what an MP4 is.
Well, that is a video file that can be played on your computer, and it can be played on your iPhone, on your iPad, whereas a DVD, you know, you can play on your computer if you've got the DVD player.
Yeah, but I mean, do they even make computers with the DVD player anymore?
Well, they don't, but I bought, because I have software. For example, my Photoshop software was very expensive. So when we got the new computer, I had to get my, CD player to install it on my computer. So you can buy them. I mean, they're really cheap, and you just plug them in with your USB. But it's kind of a hassle carrying that around. So I think if you have some home movies or something, it's much easier to just have them with an MP4. And I had like a little clip of some that I was able to send by text message, which was great.
Oh, how fun. And I bet if you have one of those photo screens that you can probably just have those videos then run on those. You know those frames that show your photos? Because those can take MP4s too. So that could be a fun way to enjoy them.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Well, Evie got my digital frame, so she might be able to play those on there. I'll see if she wants those.
That might be fun.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to want her as an 8-year-old playing volleyball.
Maybe 8, but probably not 12. That was, junior high is a tough time.
I realized that most of our videos were of just like opening presents at Christmas time, or them playing sports or singing in a school musical. And I'm thinking, why didn't I do more video of them just talking? Because that's really what's so cute is the stuff that they would say.
Yeah, just the everyday stuff, which is all part of your home story. And wow, we rounded it all around today.
Oh, you put a big bow on it, Kelly. So.
Well, you the romantic, love the bows.
Yeah, with my practical video converter. But it was home videos that I was converting. So thanks so much for hanging out with us. And remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.